listening to She Speaks Talk Radio, where women's words are changing the world.
Hello and welcome to the Small Steps to Wellness show with me, your host, Mari Craig, where we are discussing how we can achieve wellness in our lives, one small step at a time. Now, intuitive eating is a field I have to admit I know very little about, but something I want to learn more about. Because I often find when working with clients that they want to be told what to eat, but in my opinion, that kind of won't work in the long run, because as much as I'd like to, I can't forever be holding their hand. And that's why on today's show, I got Marcelle Rose with me to help me understand what intuitive eating is. Now, Marcelle specialises in helping women beat binge eating, bulimia, emotional eating, yo-yo dieting, so that they can make peace with their body and heal their relationship with food. And for many women, this is really a transformational experience, so they're able to reclaim their life. This is powerful. She is a registered nutritionist and health coach with specialist training in eating disorders. Marcelle works with her clients both in a one-to-one capacity, in addition to running her 21 on Diet Your Mind course. I love that title. And that is designed to unlock your diet mindset, unlearn your old food patterns, and make new confident choices. Marcelle also loves supporting women with their food and body challenges within a free Facebook community, the Food Freedom Collective. And if you look in the show notes, you will see links to everywhere that you can find Marcelle. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, do you know what? I've been asking people, I need to speak to somebody who can tell me what intuitive eating is, because I have a feeling this is going to be something that I'll be totally on board with. So thank you so much for coming on today. Should we just jump straight in? What is it? What is intuitive eating?
Okay, so in essence, it's a non-diet approach, and it's really a framework to help people build a happy relationship with food and heal from chronic dieting, because I think we are so affected by diet culture now more than ever, and it's something that's really needed. So it really helps people to move away from dieting and reconnect with the body, so that they can start to rely on their internal cues rather than relying on the external diet rules that we're all sort of given. We need to have this many calories, we need to eat this food, we not eat that food. So it's really about retuning back in, and it's really about tuning and connecting in a way that really feels good, both physically and emotionally. Because I think when you think about dieting, if you're someone that has an unhealthy relationship with food, a chronic dieter, or sort of a disordered eater, somewhere along that spectrum of disordered eating, it not only affects you physically, but very much emotionally, and really can take over your thoughts and preoccupation. And so using intuitive eating as part of that kind of recovery is very, can be very powerful. And a lady called Evelyn Triboli and another lady actually created the 10 principles of intuitive eating. So there's it's not just, I think there's a bit of a misconception that's just about, eat when you're hungry and stop when you're full. It's so much more than that, really. Yeah.
So there's so much I could pick up on there. You said retune back in, and that obviously tells me that actually we kind of technically know what we should be eating, but we've been so, I guess, indoctrinated into this diet culture that we don't really know where to begin. And I can imagine also for children who haven't been kind of polluted with all these ideas, that because everything is kind of in abundance, it's they almost never get to learn what intuitive eating is, because everything is so readily available.
Yeah, I mean, we all internally know when we're, obviously babies, if you think about toddlers and babies, and they know they have those hunger and satiety cues, because they know, they push away, you see them push away food, chuck it on the floor, not, you know, they actually know, because we're all born with those inbuilt cues. But you know, as we get older, as you say, you know, once it probably younger and younger now, that children are sort of being exposed to sort of diet culture talk, because unfortunately, I think, you know, most people, or a lot of people, don't really think about, you know, when they're talking about themselves, how much they can sort of take in around food talk, or I shouldn't be eating that, or I feel a bit bad, I've had some chocolate, or, you know, I'm on a diet, I'm on my next diet, or they just even watch how their parents, you know, because as parents, we sort of modeling eating behaviors, and they're very much watching, you know, if somebody's skipping meals or having funny, you know, having sort of shakes instead of a meal or something like that. So it can, you know, at a young age, sadly now, kids are really picking up on those cues, you know, those external cues.
I think you're onto something really, really important there, because I think one of my issues is we kind of, I guess, I mean, men also diet, obviously, but I wonder if it's a bit more a women's thing, that mummy's on a diet, and what is that teaching children about their bodies and good foods, bad foods, all of that kind of stuff that I don't have a lot of time for, I have to say. I drink shakes sometimes, or smoothies sometimes, but I also explain to the children what's in it, and that's really good for them, and I offer them some, because I know that what I'm using is healthy, and that it's nice for them to have as well. So sometimes they look, I've made a bit too much, do you want some, you know? But I think you wanted something really, really important there about showing our children what a healthy relationship with food looks like.
Yes. No,
have you always been an intuitive eating coach?
Well, I haven't, no. I mean, I started off as, you know, I trained in nutritional therapy, and was generally helping people sort of with general nutrition, particularly gut health, in that area. So really, I came from a bit of a different approach. I then started to get quite a few people come to me who wanted weight loss, and I felt like there was something else going on. There's a lot of emotional stuff going on, quite, you know, I was seeing quite some disordered eating and chronic dieters, and I thought, I don't feel quite equipped with what I've got to help them properly, really, because they don't need to be given a whole set of rules, really, to, you know, to stick by, because as soon as, you know, how long is that going to last for them? So I kind of, you know, sort of thought about, I need some more tools to be able to work with these people, and I then trained as a health coach, but still felt like, you know, I'm getting more of these kind of people that are more disordered eaters, and I have to refer them on, because I can't work with anyone with an eating disorder or disordered eaters without the training. And then I thought, well, hang on a minute, what? I'm so interested in that training for eating disorders. So I did do the master practitioner course at the National Centre for Eating Disorders. And that's what really helped me do a bit of a U-turn, really, on the way that I was working with people, and also to then eventually specialise in sort of eating disorders, disordered eating, emotional eating area, particularly. And, you know, it was a real kind of light bulb sort of moment for me when I did that training. I was like, you know, there's definitely another way here.
Yeah.
The tools, and intuitive eating is one of those, sort of part of that. Yeah. So you know, the principles very much align with a lot of the training that I had.
Yeah. I can imagine though that for people who come to you with an eating disorder, or having been on multiple diets, very prescriptive diets, that must be a bit of a shock to the system when you're then going to teach them about how to work this out for themselves, because that's, at the end of the day, it's what a coach does, isn't it? It's not,
yes,
you're not giving them all the answers.
Yes.
Whereas that's maybe what they've been used to from whatever diets they've been on. All of a sudden, you know, power has been given back, and responsibility has been given back to you as a client. I can imagine that quite a few of your clients were like, oh my goodness, I'm too scared, I don't know, I don't trust myself.
Yes, at the beginning, when we start working on, you know, especially with the sort of disordered eaters, there is a lot of, you know, fear factor. You know, perhaps the first 2 sessions, you know, get some wobbles. And I do talk to them quite a lot about that and say, look, it's really natural to feel this fear. But I'm, you know, with you to support you every step of the way. And we do things very slowly and at their own pace. So it's step by step, slowly moving on. And you know, I think it's important to, you know, to really help with the hand holding. But you know, it is, as you're right, what you said, it is about empowering them. So rather than sending people away with huge diet plans and, you know, you must do this, it makes such a difference when you're sort of looking at the picture and saying, for example, you know, one of the things we do with people who are really struggling with, you know, they've got fear foods because they won't, there's, you know, there's a number of foods they just won't eat because they're too fearful, or, you know, certain foods that they'll only have a very, very small amount of. And we sort of start by looking at those foods, breaking them down, looking at what, you know, a traffic light system of what would be, you know, your red foods and what would be your amber foods and what foods you're okay with at the moment. And then we very sort of gradually work our way through. But instead of me saying, right, I want you to eat this and this, we talk around, maybe start with the amber foods and say, okay, what would you feel the most comfortable starting with? And how much do you think you'd be able to include this week? And it's, you know, it's a bit of a slow process. So that's something that's more with disordered eaters. So trying to bring the flexibility back into, you know, into their eating, so that they've got a wide variety of foods that they can choose from and select from, and not feel that sort of limited. And, you know, I suppose this is slightly off track from intuitive eating, but actually one of the you know, the principles of intuitive eating is around not having sort of forbidden foods. So
yes, love that.
You know, all foods are available to you, and it's more about thinking what you need and what your body needs and what you want at the time, rather than I can't have this because it's a bad food.
Yeah, exactly. That was going to be my next question, actually. How do you deal with that? Because I could imagine, again, coming from a world of dieting, you're being told this is there's so many words for it, you know, this is a food that is going to give you 0 points or whatever, and this is a food that you mustn't have, or you know, and we spoke before this recording, I don't know if you remember, about you know, me giving my children pom bears, and my eldest being in absolute shock that her nutrition coach mummy would actually allow that. And we had the conversation about how food is just food. I mean, I'm not sure you can even class it as food, but I think for the purpose of this point I'm trying to make, let's call it food. But say that, you know, it just does different things for us, to us, and it's like we don't spend our whole day eating pom bears, because that wouldn't actually serve us. But and other brands are available, obviously. but the whole once in a while, it's not going to damage and undo all the good things you're doing. So I had to explain to her, look, you're having all of these fruits and vegetables every single day, you're eating teff and linseed rolls, for goodness sakes, you know, you're eating all of these good foods. This is just something that will cheer you up a little bit when you're tired, or give you some energy, and this is just a different type of food that will do different things for you.
Yes,
that must be hard to get your head around for a dieter, I would have thought.
Yeah, it's bringing that sort of the fact that actually it is okay to eat foods for joy sometimes, you know, as part, you know, you want to enjoy your food. And just depending on, you know, my clients who I'm dealing, you know, who I'm working with, they, you know, some people will have thoughts around food that actually healthy food equals not, not very nice food or boring
Yes,
food.
yes.
And so there's that thought, and then there's another, other people who are very much, well, I cannot eat anything that's not healthy, but are you enjoying it? And are you getting joy from your food? And let's look at the balance really, and what what are you actually sort of feeling like at the time, rather than focusing in on calories, sins, and this and that. Can you focus on what kind of food do you want? Warm food, cold food, crunchy food, smooth food, sweet food, savory food, salty food? Really focus on the colors, the flavors, the textures, rather than focusing on calories that just doesn't give us any useful information really at all.
No, exactly this. I feel, this is, I love this, because different foods do different things at different times as well. I might add something to my smoothie bowl or whatever, not because it's so bloody healthy, but because it's got a nice crunch and I'd love chewing something, and that's okay. What kind of results do you get with your clients? And let's say I'm probably, because I think more people can relate to it, I think, what kind of results are you getting with your clients that have been on diet after diet? Because and as a follow-up question to that, I suppose, is a lot of people I know, they because I work also with lifestyle changes, and incidentally, if you have some weight to lose, you probably will lose it if you go through the process. However, you have to be patient because things take time, and I would imagine that a lot of people who've been on diet after diet have been used to getting really, really fast results. And this is a completely different approach. And I'm often told by people like, no, that's okay, I'm going on this and this program because I need to be bikini ready for whatever. And I kind of feel sort of an inside upset, because I know that this is a short-term solution. This is not a lifestyle change. And what you're offering as well is a lifestyle change. So how do people, what kind of, I mean, you must get some resistance, I would assume, but also what kind of results are you, gosh, this is a long question. What kind of results are your clients getting? To see you're frantically making notes. Let's try to remember.
Yes, I have to make notes, otherwise, menopausal brain, I'm sorry, I'm just going to forget things. Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, really interesting results. I think one of the first things I'd like to say is that when I start working with people, I do say to them, I'm going to ask you to take the focus of weight loss away. We need to put it to one side. I know how important it is to you, because a lot of these people, it's their number. They say, I can't carry on with what I'm doing because of all these ways, and it's impacting their life in so many ways. It's so detrimental, but still weight loss is so important to them. So I completely acknowledge that, but we have to put it to one side, because the work that we do is just not compatible to focus on weight loss and do this work. Now, that's not to say that they might not lose weight later down the line, but I think, it as a sort of side effect of the way that they're changing the way they're eating, and they're more than likely to, but it will take time, and their metabolism needs to kind of almost rebalance, reset, and allow your body to know that it's going to be getting food at certain times. If you've been restricting, the likelihood is that your metabolism has completely slowed down, and obviously if you're binge eating and restricting, metabolism all over the place, causing all sorts of impacts. So I think what I'm trying to say is that the likelihood is that for majority of people, they will lose weight. It might be slower in the long term, but I think the point is that because we work on taking the focus away from the weight loss and focus on all the other improvements in their life, that it becomes less of an important thing. So it becomes something that is, I'm not saying that it goes away for people, you know, it's still perhaps there somewhere, the importance of it, but it becomes less important to them. And when they focus on the other benefits, so things like their energy, things like, because energy is obviously a really big one, hormones, hormonal balance, mood, you know, their gut health, all sorts of, and very coincidentally, very many people who are sort of disordered eaters really struggle with gut health problems as well as a result of the disordered eating. So
And sleep, I would imagine.
Sleep, exactly. Sleep, you know, really they feel so much better in so many ways, and mentally and emotionally so much better about themselves. You know, the self-worth bit is just huge. We do a lot of work on body image as well.
And can I ask on that, because you said if you feel so much better and you work on body image and all these things, because I could imagine also that for a lot of people it becomes kind of an identity to be this overweight person or to be this dieting person. But I would have thought that when that stress is gone, the body's more able also potentially to shift the weight.
Yeah, absolutely, because one of the things I explain to them is actually that they're doing more harm to themselves by worrying about the food that they're going to eat, because it impacts their metabolism, it impacts the way they're digesting and absorbing food, because they're so stressed when they're eating. So their digestive system is kind of, in essence, going to sort of shut down or slow down, and they won't be working that efficiently than if they just ate, you know, just ate without that stress around eating. And general stress overall, yes, is, you know, you're going to be holding on to weight, particularly around the middle, when you're stressed. And there's a lot of anxiety that comes with these clients that are, you know, struggling around food. So there's a lot of stress, a lot of cortisol.
Yes,
you know,
exactly,
released.
Which is not conducive to good to good digestion, is it?
No. So yeah, definitely it, you know, it can make such a difference. And the problem is, because I think many people who are chronic dieters and who have this sort of unhealthy relationship with food and their body, they are constantly preoccupied with thoughts about food, their body, weight, dieting, and they say that literally it takes over everything. They can't think about anything else. There's no headspace for anything else. You know, it affects them in all areas of their life, because obviously it affects their mood, it affects relationships, it affects work. So I would say, you know, the biggest impact really is to see the change in that, when people start to build on their self-worth and their self-esteem and feel good in their bodies, and they're much more likely to look after their bodies in that way, and they accept it, you know, and work on it as it is, and work on their eating in a different way, and then they're much more likely to look after it, and much more likely to kind of move in a way that feels good. That's another important principle, which I think is so important as well, rather than the sort of punishing exercise that some people do, again creating a lot of stress in the body, not necessarily helpful.
No, exactly. And I've been on this bike ride, I've been on this run, and I burnt however many calories. It's like, yeah, but did you enjoy it? Did you actually, you know, I use an online coach, and he always says, you know, exercise is a form of self-respect. It's a form of you showing your body, I love my body, I want to look after it. And I think there's so much truth in that. You've got one place to live in, you know, one body to live in. I want to look after it. I want to make sure I treat it with the respect and the love that it deserves. But I wonder if we've all been so used to you know, shaming ourselves, or to feeling like we're not worthy of all of these things, that it must be quite a shift for people.
And definitely. I mean, I have a number of clients that I've seen, they've overworked themselves at the gym, they've got injuries, then they're in this cycle because they, you know, they feel even more guilty because they're using exercise as compensation, and then they can't exercise because they're in pain, because they've caused injury, because they've overworked. So, you know, it's all it ends up all in a bit of a vicious cycle. So it's all about really working on the relationship with exercise. Sometimes is is important work as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's about how it makes you feel at the end. I do weight exercises, and I never thought that'd be something I'd enjoy at all. I thought that was something for men with those vests in the gym, and it wasn't for tiny little me. And I have to tell you, how I feel after I'm done is amazing, and I see the changes and I think, gosh, this is great. But if I'd thought this is crap, I'm not enjoying this at all, I would try to find something else that I do enjoy, because I can't think of anything worse than spending half an hour doing something that you hate. Because what's the point in that, isn't it?
Yeah, and you're much less likely to continue with it as well. It's finding something you really enjoy, and that because the consistency is far more important, really, isn't it, as well? So it's getting something you enjoy. It doesn't have to be punishing. It just needs to be nourishing exercise, something that makes your body feel good, and that you want to keep doing regularly.
That actually takes me back to the whole thing of eating, because you talk about sustainable enjoyment, all of these things. And this is why also I have issues with diets, because is it sustainable? Are you enjoying it? And also for me as a parent, is this something that the whole family can be doing?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's, diets are not, we know that diets don't work in the long term because they're not, partly because they're not sustainable. And then you've got that sort of all or nothing sort of behavior. So I think it's really about just bringing in things rather than taking out. I mean, with diets, it's very much take this out, take that out. We want to bring in, the more you can bring in, and the more variety you've got into your diet. So definitely, I think that's a good message for kids. Bring as much, try and get them to try as many new things as possible by having things available. Eating family style can help with that, trying different things in the middle of the table and serving themselves and things.
And that helps with picky eaters as well, I can tell you, because I've got one, which is a bit weird coming from somebody who's kind of who know what to do when it comes to nutrition. I have a picky eater, and being able to have autonomy and to choose what goes on my plate from picking it in the middle of the table is, it's a bit of a faff sometimes. You want to make something in one pot thing, and it's a bit of a faff sometimes. But if you can work it out, at least some of the times, to give them the opportunity to go, right, I'm in charge. Because at the end of the day, they're not going to live with you forever. You're not going to tell them what to eat forever. And same with adults. We need to learn at some point to what works for us, what are we happy with. Yeah,
absolutely. And trying new different things, bringing that abundance in. And also the benefits are so wide, you're benefiting your gut that way, as sort of we're learning more and more about our gut at the moment and about the microbes in our gut, that the more we've got that lovely diversity of the bacteria in our gut, the healthier we are overall, and how it supports our immune system and our brain, and, as you say, everything, every part of the body. So so it has many benefits.
I tend to stay at home. I mean, the kids don't. No, actually, the kids do understand what a calorie is, because it's said on the packet, on the Pombe packet, may I add, how many calories it was, and I tried to explain what it was, and my eldest totally got it. She was like, I said, but I don't think that's a good way of counting, because if you eat nuts, they have more calories. But what do you reckon? What should you have more of, nuts or Pombe? She was like, nuts, because they've got all kinds of other nutrients. I was like, that's my girl. I said to her, it's like I'm winning. But I said to her, we count colors in our house. We count the amount of different fruit and veg and herbs and spices and nuts and seeds and all of those things. That's what we count. We, add chocolate to the list. I count that too. So that's what we want to count.
Absolutely.
Does it frustrate you though when you go like, this is I've got such a great way for you to help yourself, and people just don't want to listen? That must be frustrating?
What, in terms of just what?
Because let's say you see somebody who's constantly going on a diet, and you're kind of like, hello, I'm here, I've got something that you can actually keep doing for the rest of your life.
Yeah, but we do get, I think by the time they come to see me, they realise, because I explain very clearly that, you know, this is very much a non-diet approach. This is what we, you know, this is how we do it. We want to put this weight loss to one side. So I think by the time they've kind of thought, okay, I'm going to work with Marcelle, you know, they understand that it is going to be a different approach. But yes, there are wobbles sometimes, and but it is very much, it's very much a collaborative thing. And we try, you know, part of the coaching, as I'm sure you do, you know, is really understanding where their challenges are, and seeing what's been working for them and what's not, and just working with that and really listening. And they sort of can then empower themselves by sort of almost coming up with the answers themselves, but with, you know, obviously with the support and the tools, the right tools and strategies to help them.
I have to say, the whole idea of coaching really appeals to me, because as you say, you kind of feel like you're finding the solution yourself, and it feels empowering instead of somebody prescribing to you what you should be doing. Do you have any sunshine stories, any special clients that have been just amazing to work with and have had great, you know, I don't actually like that when I say result, because it's not a result implies it's done. And it's a lifelong thing, but
it's a journey.
Yes, exactly. But do you have any, if I ask you, or like, who did you really enjoy working? Obviously don't expose them here, but
no, well, I know, I mean, loads of people. I mean, I absolutely love my clients. I just, you know, I work with them for usually a minimum of 3 months, sometime, you know, quite often longer. And yeah, it's just wonderful. I just, you know, when you see people just and they get their sort of light bulb moments. So I've got lots of wonderful stories, but I know one particular person that I can talk about, because I've sort of she was happy for me to sort of interview her, and so I know that, you know, she's given me permission to talk about, but I won't mention her name. But she, you know, amazing woman, such an amazing person. But what was happening was she had been restricting her food. She's not diagnosed with an eating disorder, but a chronic dieter, but to the extent that she didn't realize she was actually hungry most of the time. So she was so exhausted all the time. She would go to bed early because she was worried that she would end up sort of binging. She wasn't really a binge eater, but she would, you know, come to the end of the day, and that's when it was, you know, going for the foods that she deemed, you know, not healthy, and it made her feel incredibly guilty if she did then. But because she'd been severely sort of restricting the amount of food she'd been eating throughout the day, so she'd go to bed at like 8 o'clock at night just to come away from the kitchen, because that's all she could do. She's had problems sleeping though. She couldn't sleep well. Her hormones were all over the place, mood swings, you know. She would they were quite a sociable family, and they would often have people over for dinner, but she couldn't focus on the socializing. She was so preoccupied and in her head around the food, and worried about what she was going to eat, and worried about what, you know, looking like in front of other people, that she found it a real struggle, you know, to sort of properly socialize. And she's this amazing, vivacious character. And yeah, so we started working at first, and, you know, there were some wobbles, and she said, look, I know I've invested in this, so I know you say trust the process, so I am going to trust the process, because what else can I do? I've spent years and years doing the same thing and it's not worked. So I know I need to, but I'm feeling really, you know, nervous. So this was, you know, early on, you know, perhaps we did the first session, and then the second session, she sort of admitted that to me. So we worked through that, and honestly, she was amazing. Once she realized that, she said, I can't believe that I have been hungry literally my whole life, like hungry. She said, because we got her slowly eating, you know, bringing in some lovely foods that she enjoys, just changing the way she's eating. she felt satiated. She wasn't craving sugar anymore. She was feeling energized. And, you know, by the end of it, all of those things that I mentioned, she felt so much better. But mostly it was her mindset and her positivity about herself. And so she's now like, she's brilliant, because now whoever she speaks to, she's like an advocate for the non-diet approach. Because and you know, she said, I'm surrounded by all my friends, my family. Her mum still says to her, you know, talking about the next diet and everything. And she's like, whenever I speak to people, I tell them, no, you've got to stop doing this. And you know, she's just brilliant. So yeah, she's a great example of how, and she just feels so amazing now, you know, when she felt so awful.
I could imagine also that a lot of people who are restricting themselves will probably also go down the low fat route, and that must make your mood just miserable, not getting enough of those good things that you need for your body.
Absolutely.
I love hearing that. It's so great when you find, when people learn that, you know, I can decide how I want to feel by how I view food and what I put into my body, and how also if I go and have a pizza with my friends, I can also decide that was a great moment. I really enjoyed it for what it was, and I had a good evening with my friends. It's amazing, because we've said it before, like, we have one body, we have one time we're living. Why do we need to be punishing ourselves over and over again? But it's no wonder we do, because it's all we're surrounded by, it's all we talk about. I mean, exaggerating here, but it really is. Before Christmas, it's like bake these and these cookies, and in January it's like how to lose 2 stones in a week or whatever. I mean, it's no wonder we're finding it hard. So I think people like you who kind of to put it to one side and focus really on, okay, what is it, what is really the issue here, and how can we work through it and get you through to the other side. I mean, it must have such a positive impact also on her, like on this woman, for example, on her family and everyone around her. And they see, look, this woman is now glowing. What is she doing?
Amazing. No, she's you know, and it's just the difference that it can make to one's life, because there's so many things, you know. We often talk about things that, you know, what do you think your purpose is in life? What do you want to be doing that you're not doing at the moment, because this is stopping you? And really focusing on that. And as I say to many people where you know, weight is such a, you know, it's such a big thing in their life, and I, you know, remind them, actually, a bit morbid, but you know, what do you want on your gravestone? That she managed to be slim her whole life. Do you know what I mean? It's like, let's look back and see, what do we want to achieve in our life? What do we want to do? Let's look at the bigger picture, rather than that complete focus on our weight. Because society's told us we have to be a certain size.
And also you can even be that certain size if you allow yourself to look at it in a more sustainable way. I mean, I can take my I mean, I don't have a massive weight loss story as such, but I'll finish on this. Like, I've always felt like I needed to starve myself, or to count calories, all these things, or just exercise loads and do all these things in order to lose weight. And it was always so hard for me, because I just gained weight so easily, and it was always like, it's going to be hard for me. And then I learned about what my body really needs, and this has been a long process. And what I feel better doing, what keeps me fuller for longer, all of these things. I'm now at the point where I'm kind of the lightest I've ever been. But that wasn't ever, that was just, as you were saying, it was put aside, because I realized, gosh, if I eat this for breakfast instead of this, I feel full all the way to lunch, and I don't feel like I'm starving all the time. And now I say to people, look, I can eat whatever I want now, because what I want to eat has changed. Because my body now absolutely does, because I know that if I eat XYZ, I'll feel so much better in the long run. So that's what I want to eat.
Because many people who, you know, I'm working with, and we talk to them about taking away this sort of feeling of these foods are forbidden, and they say, but Marcelle, you know, if I'm allowed these foods, that's all I'll eat. And actually, it's amazing that that changes. That's not what they want to eat once they bring in all these other things, and that's allowed as part of the diet. You know, it's very much not, it's not forbidden anymore. It's not about compensating, and they learn that you move away from that feeling like, well, I'll just eat, you know, 100 chocolate bars all day long, because once you change that whole mindset around it, it becomes much easier to just sort of include that as part of your diet.
And also, you probably don't want it as much. You probably
you don't.
Less of it.
Absolutely. Because it takes the power away from it, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Takes that power away from the food.
Yeah, and it's not a treat anymore. It's just do you know, I used to have no interest in nuts and seeds and all of that stuff. That's pretty much all I eat at the moment for breakfast. Bit of yogurt, bit of berries, nuts and seeds, and it's just, and that's really, really, really what I want. And I do look in the fridge in the morning and go, what do I need? What do I need today? But that is a process, and I wouldn't have been able to make those choices, let's say 7 years ago. I would have said, let's give me a big bowl of whatever shop bought cereal muesli kind of thing with low fat milk, and then 2 hours later I was hungry again, you know. So it's definitely a process that you have to trust, and I just want to say thank you for kind of shedding some light on this, because I understand completely, coming from the same place myself, that people want to lose weight. I understand it, but it is if you can see it as a lifestyle change instead of a, you know, 21 days to whatever, you know, or 30 days to drop whatever dress sizes. I think you're going to have much nicer time. Going through the stages of unpicking all the kind of habits that have crept up over the years. I think this is really, and as you said in the beginning, it's about retuning back into what we actually really deep down inside know.
Absolutely, allowing that focus.
Exactly. On the show notes, I am putting a link up to a free ebook download, and I love this. What the diet industry doesn't want you to know: 10 weight loss myths exposed and why you're trapped in a dieting cycle. I'm going to go and read that now, because I think that's probably going to be quite enlightening. But I want to thank you for being on, because I think this is going to be an episode that a lot of people will respond to, or they will relate to and go, gosh, I hadn't thought of it that way, or I didn't realize. And hopefully will empower people to come and see somebody like you, and also empower people to just go, actually, I deserve to feel good. I deserve to stop punishing myself. We are all worthy of that.
Exactly. Definitely.
Is there anything I've forgotten? Or probably it's loads, isn't there? It's what we're going to talk about. As I said, your website is on the show notes, your Instagram, Facebook page, LinkedIn, and there is a Food Freedom Collective free Facebook community you've got, and there is also a course you're running that I'm going to put a link up to. So if anyone wants to work with you, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to find you. So thank you so much, Marcelle.
Thank you. It's been great chatting to you.
Yes, loved it. All right, thank you so much, and take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye. You've been listening to the Small Steps to Wellness show with Mari Craig. I am passionate about helping mums get their energy back through simple nutritional changes, because we know that if mummy is happy, the family is happy. If you would like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram under @smallstepstowellness, or visit my website, smallstepstowellness.info. Speak to you soon.